And the last sign is Pisces, and that's the sign of spirituality so whereas Aries is like the beginning of life, Pisces is like the end of life, where it's like all is one and everything's up to God and or whatever. It's the sign of it's ruled by Jupiter. Its second ruler is Neptune. Jupiter's, that planet of like going big and stuff, and they don't look at the details. They kind of look at the bigger picture. Okay, and then now let's look at a natal chart. So there's 12 signs. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. I don't know. Uh-oh. 10, 11, 12. Okay. And they all represent the different parts of the life that you go through, and they also represent like the different signs. So the first house represents Aries always, and then it's going to be Taurus and Gemini and Cancer and Leo and Virgo, and on. But it also represents like a segment of your life. So the first house represents your aura, your path in life, the way that you're meant to walk on this earth. This is where the ascendant sign will fall, or the rising sign. And this kind of tells you like the major gist of the life path that you're going to be on. The second house, which I'll talk about a lot more because you have a lot of planets there, so it would be like important and interesting for you to know like what that means. So the second house is the house of money, of wealth, of like it rules the face and the mouth, and like the opening orifices that are like seen, so like the ears, the eyes, and the nose, and it represents like the luxury of life, like the foods we eat, the wine we drink and stuff. The third house represents the mind, the communication, like it also represents our neighbors, our siblings, our relatives, not like the mom and the dad, but like the brothers and the siblings and the cousins. And it rules our thinking, like our communication. So somebody who has Aries here, for example, would be a really fast communicator, whereas somebody who has like Virgos typically have Scorpio here. So what does that mean? That's how a Virgo thinks. They're very Scorpionic in their thinking. They're always thinking about life and death, or if something goes wrong, then everybody dies or whatever, or like the worst case scenario. They'll also read about like serial killers and all, etc. Fourth house is the house of the home. It represents, it's the lowest part in the zodiac. And so it's like the most hidden part in the zodiac, and it's also like the core of the person. So before I go on any further, when you have a natal chart, this is the backbone of it. This is the ascendant, which is the personality, the persona. This is the descendant, which is the husband, the opposite, like the reflection, the projection. So whatever the ascendant is, usually the opposite sign is going to be the descendant, which is like the likely partner. Then you have IC, which is the home, and this is like the root of the person, and this is like the lowest part of the chart, so the most hidden part of anybody's chart. Usually like you don't tell people what's going on in the home. And then this is the MC. It's like medium coli. I don't know what the word is, but it's called the midheaven. It's the highest point that you're gonna reach on your in your life. So this is like these are all really important points, but this one is showing like what you're here on earth to like what role you're here to play. Like it can represent like your career, or like if you choose to be a mother, like if that's the most important thing, or like you know, it's like when a prince and a princess get married, so the status of like a prince or a princess, whatever, would be represented by like whatever is over here. And this is also like the highest career position. So when somebody's looking into like what their career should be, this is where you look. Anyways, then let's go back here. So we were on the 4th house, so the IC. Then we have the 5th house, which is the house of creativity, of children, of romance. So if you think about it, romance leads to children, and creativity, like when you have a child, it is like what you create. So it's like your creative expression. So if it could either be like works of it could either be works of art, like or how you take center stage, or it can be represent like the children that you have. The 6th house is the house of health, work, and routine. It's also the employees, people who are below you as an employee. It describes like your workspace. Like if somebody had Gemini here, then they might have, Gemini is 2, so they might have 2 jobs. Or they might, Gemini rules young people, so they might work with a lot of young people. If they had Aries here, then they might work a lot with the body, because it's Mars, so it's like very physical, and it'd be like very fast. There might be like a lot of competition there. Just give you an example. So, and then times it. The 7th house is the house of relationship. Everybody wants to know this, and I'll look at what yours means too, but this is the thing that I care about the least. But everybody wants to know about this, because this is about like the husband, like who your first husband is going to be, and like characteristics of him and stuff. It also represents like legal partnerships. So like, let's say like you're gonna work with like a client or whatever, that one-on-one relationship. Also, it's the Libra is the sign of the judge, so it's like of the fairness and everything. The 8th house is the house of what comes after marriage, which is like this the sexual the sex, like the deep you know, getting into the secret of things, like the skeletons in the closet or whatever. Like when you get to like, you like get away from the superficial and go deep into like the person. There's also divorce, death, crisis. Whenever somebody has a lot of planets there, oh my gosh, like there's a lot of power struggles. They're always like in like a situation where it's like life or death or whatever. There's like a lot of stuff underneath the surface of things. A lot of like other things that rule the like 8th house is like rape. So you know, it's like somebody taking your power away, or like, so you know, people who have planets here, they might have like, or be around people who bring this theme up a lot for them. The 9th house is my favorite house. This is the house of God, and it's the house after Scorpio's house, so that's the Sagittarius house. Oh, so this was Aries. Oh yeah, I already said that. So this is the house of the higher mind. It's like, so you know how the opposite of it was Gemini, and Gemini was a lower mind. So it's like how you speak, talk, how you learn like skills, like learning how to code on the computer or learning a new language and everything. The 9th house is a higher mind, so like religion, spirituality, dogmas, like that, like, you know, when you go to church and you recite those like things that you recite and stuff, it's like the spiritual journey, and like this higher mind, they call it the higher mind, and then the lower mind. Then you have the 10th house, which is the highest point, and this is the Capricorn house. This is the highest point. This is your career house. Like, what is your career path in life? Like, what are you going to be known for? 11th house. So, you know, 11th house is the house of dreams, hopes, and wishes, and it's also the house of friendships. So it describes like your friendships. So third house, when you talk about the friends in the third house, that's more like the people you're around, like in the neighborhood and school. So you're kind of like around them, so that's your community and everything. 11th house is kind of like the networks you make and the friends you make later on that help you accomplish your hopes and wishes and dreams. It's also, so see how when you had the first house, the second house from the first house was the money house. So the second house from the 10th house, the 10th house is career. The second from the 10th is the 11th. So the 11th also represents the money that's made from the career. So it's like the promotional stuff that you get. Like I have a lot of planets here that would describe like my cousin being here, and she gets like all these like hookups with her job and stuff. Like they paid for like her to get a better car and everything. So it's like, you know, the raises, some promotions, like networking, like knowing like important people and stuff, that kind of thing. And then the 12th house is like the last house, is the house of undoing. It represents like isolation, foreign places. Also 9th house rules foreign places, but this is like also like places of meditation, like ashrams, like when you go away on a spiritual journey, but also like a library where you're like isolated doing research, going deep. And it's also like undoing, so it's like the house of this represents like escaping. So you can escape through like meditation, or you can escape through the lower energy would be escape through like drugs or something. Okay, so like since I said that, that kind of makes me think of something else I wanted to say. So like, why is it important to know your chart? It's because this is how you know yourself. You know, there's like that quote, it's like, know thyself. If you want to really live life to the fullest, you really have to know yourself. Like, and sometimes that yourself kind of gets lost because we're around people who are telling us what to do, and we're kind of just like following what they're saying. Sometimes like who we are kind of gets distorted, and this kind of like reminds us of that, and it lets you know what energies you have that work for you and what energies that have that don't work for you, and how you can use certain energies to your advantage. Like, you know how I said the 12th house, which is the house that rules in Neptune, it rules like drugs and stuff. But let's say somebody was like really drug seeking, or like how would they get out of this mess? Another way they could use that energy, if they have like planets in the 12th house or something, would be like through meditation, or like going through an ashram, or going to a rehab or something. And it's that same energy, because it's like there's like a need to escape the reality. So you could either do that through drugs, which is dangerous, or you could do it through meditation, which would lead you to like where you want to go, like where you know, like the feeling that you're like searching for through drugs is like what you can get if you meditated and stuff. So, and also sometimes in life we'll be making the same mistakes over and over again, and we'll be like, why is this happening to me over and over again? And it kind of lets you see an energy that you have and like how you can master it. Or like maybe like you might have like a hard energy, and the purpose of it, you know, like it's nothing is ever on accident. Everything has like a purpose and a benefit to it. Okay, on the next video, I'm gonna go through like what a general chart means and the general picture of what I see on your chart.